Welcome to That's Based. Happy Wednesday. It's the midweek check-in. I'm your host, as always, Caleb Salvatore, reporting from somewhere underground. We're brought to you by Outlaw Streamers and our friends over at Blood of Tyrants Wines. Drink bloodofTyrants.com, promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D. Like the title of the show is going to save you 10% off your order at the checkout. Drink bloodofTyrants.com, promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D. Like the title of the show is going to save you 10% off your order at the checkout. They got two types of wine, along with that liquid freedom energy drink you see right over there on the video screen. Drink bloodofTyrants.com, promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D. Like the title of the show, going to save you 10% off your order at the checkout. What's going on, guys? We're laughing our way through the end of days here. Some people think the sky is falling, and we really are in the end of days. If you go over and look at the Drudge report, which I don't know who got to Matt Drudge, what kind of dirt they have on that guy, but they have lost their mind. I'm talking seriously. Drudge report used to be a place you could go to get news that was maybe overlooked in the mainstream. And I can't be the only one who's noticed this. They have taken on a blatant establishment tone over the course of the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, it is so obvious. It truly, if you go to Drudge Report right now, they're more liberal biased than MSNBC at this point. It is a disaster. I don't know. His numbers have to be declining. You can't go from a base that's, let's be honest, probably 80% conservative and just start feeding straight liberal spoon-fed propaganda and expect to keep your numbers up. I mean, there's no way. Who got to him? What do they have on him? That's my question. Because if you guys, I remember Drudge Report back in 2016, and Drudge may as well have been working for the Trump campaign with the stories they were publishing. Matt Drudge, maybe I have a better memory than some folks out there. Matt Drudge played a massive role in Donald Trump not just winning the election, but more specifically securing that Republican nomination back in 2016. Matt Drudge was a key player in that, and he has lost his ever-loving mind since then. Okay, so we got a couple things we're going to talk about going into this show here. I got a couple different things. We're going to talk about the drug cartels getting into some scuffles over at the border. We're going to talk about Donald Trump swinging his dick around on the international scale. And we're going to talk about some of the nominees being threatened, the Trump cabinet nominees being threatened. Remember, we do the show every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. If you like what you're watching or hearing, share it around to your family and friends. It is the fastest way for this show to grow organically. If you think I bring up good points, we don't like to just parrot conservative talking points on this show. You can listen to 16 different conservative podcasts, and you'll hear basically the same idea on the same couple topics. We'll cover the main big topics. We like to drift off into bizarro world every now and then, but I like to give it a perspective that you're not hearing. If I can't give an issue a perspective that you're not hearing elsewhere, or that you're already hearing elsewhere, I'm just not going to talk about it, right? So we got a couple different stories here. Let's talk. Let's start with, what should we start with here? Let's talk about the international scale, the international community here. So, as you all know, we have had a little bit of a migrant crisis in this country, just a little teeny bit of a migrant crisis in this country, and the current administration is going balls to the wall. We're having over 1,000 deportations, or nearly 1,000 deportations every single day. And the reality of this is we were told this whole time, we were gaslit by the previous administration that that migrants committed less crimes than American citizens. They committed crimes at a lower rate than American citizens, to which I would ask, how would you know that? If these people are in the country illegally, how would you know that? Why are they not being deported when they're committing these crimes, right? So by their logic, everyone who because they've been telling us for the longest time that all the illegal immigrants committing violent crimes were already being deported under the Biden administration. Then we found out that was a lie. You had 1.5 million illegal migrants sitting there waiting to be deported under the Biden administration. And Trump's finally putting that into play here. So you're seeing the Trump administration go out and actually hold these people accountable. They are only targeting three groups of people. Group number one, people who are already scheduled for deportation. Group number two, and this is the primary one, violent criminals who have been convicted of violent crimes in the United States and allowed to stay here. And number three, people who are caught with these violent criminals that are also illegal immigrants. Those are the main three things that if you listen to the previous administration, these are people that shouldn't even be here because they told us they weren't. Yet here they are. We're arresting thousands a day. And yes, there was an executive order signed that allowed them to go into churches and schools to get these, and hospitals to get these people. But that needs context because they're making it out like there's going to be these big SWAT team raids with jackbooted thugs that are just going into schools and ripping children from their classrooms, ripping pregnant mothers from hospitals, taking people out in the middle of church services. That's not what's happening, and you guys know it. What that executive order did was it gave ICE the same right that every other law enforcement agency in this country has, which is to go into soft targets like schools, churches, and hospitals and remove violent threats. Let's think about this for a second. If you've got a violent rapist in a school, even if he's not a direct threat at the moment holding a knife to anybody's throat, if you've got a violent rapist who's in a school, don't you want the police to be able to go in and get that guy and remove him from the school? Well, the police and the FBI, they've always been able to go do that. If you've got a violent rapist who's working as a janitor in a public school, they've always been able to go get that guy, right? Or if he enters the school for whatever reason, they've always been able to go get that guy. ICE hasn't been able to, thanks to the previous administration. Donald Trump did not greenlight ICE TAC teams to go commit SWAT raids on elementary schools. That's not the point of that executive order. The point of that was to make it so that these people couldn't do what you see Middle Eastern terrorists do, which is use these soft targets like places of worship and schools and hospitals as a human shield to protect themselves from law enforcement. That's what he did. And if you have a problem with that, I don't know what to tell you, man. That's your own damn fault right there. You've got issues at that point. That's the only thing I have to say there. But no, so we've begun the mass deportations, and we've been told this whole time, right? We've been told this whole time that these weren't bad people that were being deported. Well, here's my question. The president of Colombia threw an absolute fit, threatened, or he outright denied the planes of illegal migrants being shipped back to Colombia, said, no chance, we're not taking them. Donald Trump said, okay, cool. You don't take them? I'm going to throw a 25% tariff on all imported goods from Colombia. Every single one of your government employees will have their passports revoked, and we're going to put sanctions on you the same way we have them on North Korea. Think about that, how serious that is. That means nobody sends money there. They got a lot of people here in the U.S., legal and illegal, shipping money back home to Colombia. Think of the economic devastation that would cause if they did that. Go walk into your bank and try to say, I want to wire money to North Korea. See what happens. If they don't shut your account down, you'll get laughed out of the building. That's some serious implications there. I personally think the United States government should put a 15% tax on all international wires. All of them. All international money transfers, whether it's through one of those P2P apps, wire transfers. If you're sending money across the border, I don't care if it's to Canada or who gives a fuckistan, there's a 15% tax on what you're sending over there. 15% of that goes to Uncle Sam, and for incoming. Maybe not incoming, but outgoing for sure. If you're sending money back home, we're taking a piece of that. People have come over here, not paid into the tax system, and exploited the American economy for far too long, only to ship that money overseas where it's never going to get spent on American businesses, never going to get thrown back into the U.S. tax pool, and ultimately fuck all of us over for far too long. It needs to be nipped in the bud. So, Mr. President, I know you listen to the show. I'm sorry I'm busy. I can't always take your calls, but I would appreciate it if you would consider that idea. We'll be in touch. Got a couple of good ideas, don't I? But so the president of Colombia rejected it. Trump threatened all hell to break loose. The president of Colombia at first tried to get some big balls with him. Said, all right, I'll throw a tariff, 25% tariff right back at you. And Trump's like, okay. Who do you think's more like, who do you think depends on who more? Do you think the U.S. depends on importing goods into Colombia more, or do you think Colombia depends on importing goods into the U.S. more? Well, let's use our brains on this one for a second, El Presidente. Then all of a sudden, within a couple hours of this president deciding he's going to step to Donald Trump, and you got to remember, this is in South America, very conservative. I mean, they may elect communists, but socially conservative Roman Catholic societies. All of a sudden, images of this president and a transgender prostitute with whom he is allegedly having an affair with start to surface all over the internet. Then all of a sudden, Donald Trump says, okay, fine. You want to do a trade war with us? After week one, those 25% tariffs go up to 50%. And by the end of the evening, the president of Colombia not only caved, but offered the presidential plane to fly and pick up more migrants so they can get them back quicker. That is how business is done, ladies and gentlemen. That is how you deal with people. America is no longer the world's doormat. What did I tell you guys about tariffs? Tariffs are not sustainable as a method to fund your government. They are effective when they are used as a stick to punish your opponents with, or threaten them with in this case. That's what Donald Trump did with the president of Colombia. And as we saw, it was very, 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 very effective. Here's my question with this, though. If these immigrants, these illegal migrants that are coming over here from Central America, from Mexico, from South America, if they really contribute to the economy the way that people are claiming, the way that folks on the left are claiming, if they're really these vital members of the United States economy, if they're really these stand-up great individuals, can somebody riddle me this? Why was the president of Colombia willing to bring his country's economy to a screeching halt to keep them out? Why is the president of Haiti losing his mind about the idea that more Haitians could be sent back to Haiti soon? If they're such a vital part of the economy, as the president of Mexico says, why isn't she welcoming these people back with open arms? I mean, it's not like these people, or it's not like these countries are in tip-top shape economically. If these migrant workers that we're sending over, or that we're these migrants that we're sending back, these illegal migrants that we're sending back, are such an asset to the economy, you would think that all these countries with struggling economies would welcome them back with open arms. They certainly wouldn't bring their country's economy to its knees if it meant stopping them from getting back into the country. So it's almost like the narrative we've been fed isn't the correct one. I'm not saying the average person that wants to come over here, yeah, for the most part, not a bad person. They want to come over here to work. That's for the longest time, that was the reality of the of the immigration system in this country. Joe Biden absolutely took a blowtorch to that. They took a blowtorch to that. Did you guys know? Because they claim that, all these illegal immigrants are the ones that are manning our farms. Did you guys know that of the 7, 8, 9 million illegal immigrants that came over the border over the last 4 years during the Biden administration, did you know that only 1% of them are working on farms? 1% of them. Most of them migrated. Let's use common sense for a second here. I don't even need to read that statistic. Most of them migrated to cities like Chicago, like New York, like Los Angeles, that would offer them welfare benefits. Let's think. How much farmland is there in New York City? Let's put on our thinking caps here. How much farmland is there in Chicago? No, they're working welfare, or they're living off welfare. And it may not be federal government welfare, but we know that these so-called sanctuary cities are the ones that are taking care of them. So yeah, once upon a time, prior to 2020, the average person coming across the border was coming here to work and get a better life for their family. Since we have opened up the checkbook, that's not the reality anymore. They're coming over here for a free ride that is not offered to American citizens, nor should it be. You should work. You should contribute in some way. The fact that, I mean, I don't know what the number is. I saw it could be as high as $100 billion a year in savings. Net gain just from not having to provide hotels and welfare to people that aren't even citizens of this country. Meanwhile, veterans starve to death on streets. Absolutely disgusting. I saw the number could be as up to $100 billion in savings from that. Absolute disgrace what's happened over the last 4 years. Flat out disgrace. It is an embarrassment what this administration has done to this country. The Biden administration, that is. Truly. Truly. But no one can answer that question to me. If the people were shipping back to Mexico, to Colombia, to Haiti, to Africa, if they're such an asset to our economy, why are they so concerned with getting them back? Why are they fighting us so hard on getting them back? And here's my other question. I'm seeing these protests. They're calling them cute winter boots on TikTok because liberals think it's cute to talk in code, right? But I see these protests popping up all over the country. And you'll see people, they're protesting ICE and the deportations and the Trump administration and yada, yada, yada. But I see these protests pop up all over the country. And the funny thing to me is these people are waving Mexican flags, Colombian flags, Brazilian flags, the flags of the countries they came from to protest the people that are trying to send them back to that same country. Don't you think you would want to, I don't know, hoist the flag of the country you want to stay in? That makes the most sense to me. That makes the most sense to me. I saw someone else say that America was turning into a giant prison because of ICE. Because that's exactly what a prison is. It's where you kick people out. That's every prison in the country. You kick people out. You know, I got charged with false imprisonment the other day because I told my wife she could, I don't care if she went to the mall. False imprisonment. I was keeping her hostage by letting her leave the house. In case you didn't know, that's how it works. I mean, they're grasping at straws. And you know what the funny part is? Despite all of this pseudo outrage that you're seeing on the internet, Donald Trump has got an approval rating of plus 15. Plus 15, the highest it's ever been this last week. The highest it's ever been. So despite all of the sensationalist bullshit you're seeing from loudmouth retards on Facebook and TikTok, Donald Trump has the highest approval rating that he's had since 2016 when he won the election. So that goes to show that the squeaky wheel makes the most noise. That's the truth. But people actually aren't pissed. And I hate to break it to you, but Hispanics, well, I don't hate to break this part to you, but Hispanics make up a significant portion of the voter bloc in this country. And I hate to break it to you guys, but 56% of the country approves of how Donald Trump's done as president. That means that quite a few Hispanics do as well. Quite a few Hispanics do as well. Because contrary to what most liberals seem to believe, most Hispanics are not in this country illegally. Most of them were either born here or migrated here legally through the system, despite what liberals want to tell you. I mean, these are the same people, these liberals, that believe that requiring an ID to vote would make it so that black people couldn't vote because they think black people are too stupid to figure out how to get an ID. It's the soft racism of low expectations. That's all there is to it. I won't go into that part there. But China also has said after the tariff threat got hit, after they got hit with the tariff threat, that they're going to cooperate with the Trump administration as well. So it's like I said, Daddy's back home. Daddy's back home. China's going to cooperate on illegal immigration, which is a big deal because they've got a lot of people over here posing as students that go around spying for the Chinese government and laundering money and stealing and committing all types of crimes over here. That's a big deal. They're going to start supposedly, cautiously optimistic here, playing ball with us on that one. So hopefully we can get a little bit of movement there. Okay, we've got some threats to Donald Trump's cabinet nominees next up here. So we've still got Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for the Department of Health, Kash Patel for the FBI, and then my favorite, my homegirl, Tulsi Gabbard, as Director of National Intelligence. There are some threats to all of these people being passed through. Now, we know the PSYOP on Tulsi Gabbard's been going strong since 2020, when she annihilated Kamala Harris's presidential campaign back in 2020. Tulsi Gabbard, we've played the video on here a dozen times. You can go look it up if you haven't seen it yet. Tulsi Gabbard absolutely destroyed Kamala Harris's political. I mean, honestly, I don't think even going into 2024, she had fully recovered from what Tulsi Gabbard did to her in a 90-second soundbite. Absolutely ended her political career. You will not change my mind. Ever since then, she has been the target of the establishment, of the mainstream media, and of the deep state. So naturally, she is the worst person that could take a position like National Intelligence Director in their eyes. Now she's a woman, so they can't go out and, do the standard protocol and accuse her of rape back when she was in college. Well, I guess they could, but it'd be a whole lot more difficult. So instead, they have accused her of being a Russian asset. A Russian asset who is also working for former, I guess, Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad. Here's my question about this, guys. Here's my question about this. If that's true, if Tulsi Gabbard is really a Russian asset who's on the payroll of the Kremlin and working for Bashar al-Assad, she's still active duty military in the reserves. Why hasn't she been tried and court-martialed? You don't need as much evidence in a military trial to convict somebody. Why hasn't Tulsi Gabbard been removed from her position in the military and court-martialed? You'd think that would be the logical next step. If there was any smoke to this, anything, if there was any merit to any of these allegations about her, why has she not been removed from military service? You'd think that would be step number one. You identified a threat, you kicked her out. But they haven't done that. It's almost like it's bullshit. Hillary Clinton was the one who started the Russia rumor with her, because that's their go-to, is Russia, 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 Russia. So is Russia in the room with us right now? Russia, 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 Russia. That's all they do. But no, so they're threatening, because of the way Pete Hegseth got through on the tiebreaker, they're threatening to hold up Kash Patel. They're threatening to hold up Tulsi Gabbard. They're threatening to hold up RFK, which are three big ones, right? Those are three big ones. And here's my thing, guys. Here's my thing. Any Republican senator who's going to vote no to any of these three people, time for a primary. The message needs to be sent. Because you may disagree with, listen, you may disagree with RFK Jr. from a policy perspective. But, and this is even if this is a rare moment, I'm not going to be pragmatic, but even if it costs us a seat, even if it's someone like Susan Collins in Maine, we need to send the message that siding with the establishment over the American people by voting down somebody like Tulsi Gabbard is a career-ending move. You will not have a job if you side with the establishment over the American people. If you take these obviously fabricated lies about people and run with them so that you can kowtow to the intelligence agencies, You will not have a job the next time your election comes, next time you're up for re-election. And that's even if it means losing the general election, because the Republic is at stake right now. This is deeper than a couple votes in the Senate. If we lose an election and we have to regroup, then it is what it is. We need to root the cancer out, remove it permanently. Any Republican, I will repeat myself, any Republican who votes no to Tulsi Gabbard because they're buying the CIA's line of bullshit and decided to side with the intelligence agencies over we the people needs to be removed from office the moment they're up for re-election. I'm talking tens of millions of dollars thrown into a primary opponent. Full court press, ruin these people's careers. This is not something we're willing to play with anymore. Not at all. Kash Patel, there's no reason to vote no to this guy. I could understand why people were hesitant about Pete Hegseth. He grew on me. I wasn't a big fan of him at first. I could understand why people were hesitant about him. I could even understand why people are hesitant about RFK Jr. because of the vaccine thing. Tulsi Gabbard, all the criticisms of her are flat out lies. Kash Patel may be the most qualified FBI director nominee I've ever seen in my entire life. The guy's been there, done it everywhere, both in the private sector and in law enforcement, including with the FBI. There's no reason to vote no to Kash Patel other than the fact that you are owned by the intelligence agencies and you need to be removed from office. Plain and simple. You're gone. You're gone. It'll be a rough transition, but these people have to start suffering the consequences of betraying their constituents, and that's exactly what they're doing. Let's go to the last one here. So now you've got the they're reporting that they're finding explosives on the U.S.-Mexico border. That's right, the cartels are preparing for an all-out war with the United States. In fact, they even exchanged gunfire with Border Patrol agents earlier this week. That's right. You had a shootout between the cartel and Border Patrol agents. They're shooting at at planes that are shipping illegal migrants back to the countries they came from. They're ready for all-out war. Here's the thing. I think the cartels are going to find out very quickly what a poor decision this is. We kind of talked about it with Jacob Wilson last Saturday. They're going to find out very, very quickly what a poor decision this is and how in over their heads they really are. You know that saying, there's always a bigger fish? Well, you may be able to terrorize people in your country. You may be able to buy off military and police officials in your country. But here's the reality, guys. The Border Patrol, whom you're losing shootouts with, stalemate at best, are far from the most efficient fighting force the United States government has to offer. They are, and I have a lot of respect for these guys. They do a very important and dangerous job, and it's thankless. But you're basically engaging in a shootout with a glorified version of the highway patrol. Not something I would recommend you do, but for someone as heavily armed as the cartel, yeah, it might be winnable in small portions. Here's the reality, though, and what you guys don't realize is the United States military's rules of engagement only state they can't fire on citizens. Last time I checked, you guys aren't citizens. All it takes is one Predator drone strike on your house, and it's a whole new ball game. Promise you. What do I always say? To quote legendary prophet in Detroit rapper Royce the 5'9", if you open up that can of worms, I hope you're ready for the dirt that's with it. You guys are not ready for the dirt that comes with starting a war with the United States of America. You are not ready for that. Here's the other thing, is the way relations with Mexico have been these last couple weeks, we may not have to lift a finger. Donald Trump may be able to bully your president into getting her shit together and killing every last one of you, because that's what we'll do. If it comes down to it, and we end up with the United States Army on the border, or the Marines, or whoever, they're just going to kill every last one of you. None of you are going to be detained. None of you are going to be given a trial. They're going to take you, and they're going to kill you. If you surrender, they're going to take you, and they're going to shoot you in the back of the head, throw you in a ditch, and say you put up a fight. None of you will survive, and the world will be a better place because of it. Heed this warning. You do not want the smoke with the United States military. I don't care how tough you think you are by terrorizing villagers and local cops in your home country. You do not want the smoke with the United States military. There will be no cartels left. This is not a war with another country like you're seeing in Russia and Ukraine. This is a targeted operation on very specific groups and individuals from an administration that does not fuck around. And they're not interested in nation building. They're interested in killing you and getting the hell out of there. You don't want that smoke, guys. And the hilarious part of this is I'm seeing people on social media, Gen Z, blue-haired retards, on social media that are basically rooting for the cartels here. Do you guys understand? It shouldn't surprise me because these are the same people who have glorified Hamas. Do you guys understand who the Mexican drug cartels are? Do you guys understand what these people are capable of? You can have whatever opinion you want on the current administration, but if you're at the point where you're rooting for the Mexican drug cartels, some of the most nasty, disgusting, subhuman filth on the planet, then you need to reevaluate where you're at in life. Let me tell you a story about the Mexican drug cartels from firsthand experience. I was in a tattoo, not firsthand experience, secondhand. It was a story from a guy from Mexico. I was in a tattoo shop. I was getting some work done, and the guy who was in after me was just chilling there waiting to get his ink work done. This is years ago. He had migrated here legally from Mexico, legally, not illegally, legally from Mexico with his family when he was a kid. And he was telling us a story about this village he was from. And the cartel ran this entire village with an iron fist. They terrorized everybody in it. Now, there was this it was basically like the Italian mob, where they would shake you down for protection money. But the difference is the Italian mob, they'll show up, they might, slash your tires, burn your business down, something like that, right? Without you in it. Maybe they'll even take a kneecap. But the Mexican drug cartels, I believe it was I don't remember which one it was, but the drug cartel was a little bit more vicious than this. So there was an old lady in the village who, she was known for making this soup. She was really famous for making this soup. Well, one day, she didn't have her weekly protection money to pay the cartel. Cartel said, okay, that's fine. And she thought she got off spot-free. She's like, oh my God. They're not going to kill me. I thought I was doomed. Maybe they're going to be merciful. Maybe I've been nice to them, whatever. She offered him a soup as payment. Said, here, I can't pay you. Not cash, but take this soup. So they took the soup and they left. And they came back the next week to collect their protection money. Went around to everybody, got their money. And then when it was time to go to the old lady's house, they went and they knocked on her door. And she came out. She said, I'm sorry, I still don't have the money. I'm poor. I don't have it. I can't pay you this week either. I can make you more soup. And they go, no, that's fine. That's fine. We made something for you. We want you to eat. And they give her a bowl of soup. Now, she's worried that it's poison, so she won't eat it. She doesn't know what's in it. So the cartel members pull a gun on this lady, and they tell her, you can eat this soup or we can blow your fucking brains out right here. Take your chances. So she eats that entire bowl of soup. And after she eats it, do you know what they told her? They said, they showed her a video of them murdering her grandson, butchering him, and then putting him into soup, which was the soup that she just ate. They forced an old woman at gunpoint to eat her dead grandson. These are the types of people that the American left are aligning themselves with. Again, should come as no surprise given their affinity for Hamas. These are the types of animals that these people would prefer win a conflict with the U.S. government. They wouldn't actually prefer that. They don't know what they're talking about. These are immature retards that never got out of mom's basement, and they've never really done anything in life. They have no life experience. They don't realize how much gray there is in the real world because they've never gotten out on their own. Life has been so easy for them, living in this bubble full of excuses they've created for themselves, that they have no idea how to function. They don't know how the world works. They don't know anything. They get idealistic. They get into these echo chambers of people who are equally as retarded. And their viewpoints are never challenged. So I got a challenge for you guys. If you see somebody who you know sharing this mentally retarded brain rot bullshit on social media, make sure it's someone you like close to you, because you have a responsibility. Don't be combative with these people, but you have a responsibility to make sure that that these people aren't falling for a line of bullshit. To make sure that these people are really thinking for themselves, because a lot of people aren't thinking, and that's a big problem. If people post something stupid, just ask questions. Why do you believe that? See if you can, don't try to argue with them. See if you can guide them to maybe not coming to the same conclusion you did, but at least thinking about the issue critically, beyond what their friends are telling them, beyond what their online echo chambers are telling them, beyond what the Facebook post that has 13 words on it that oversimplifies a massively complex issue tells them. Like I saw one the other day, and I won't say who shared it, but it said, it takes a lot of balls to call someone illegal while you're living on stolen land. So I commented, I said, stolen from who? Simple question. Stolen from, who was it stolen from? And that's when the conversation begins, right? That's when you don't be rude to him. A man convinced against his will is not convinced. But start the conversation. If you can get these, here's the thing, man. The great thing about liberalism is the moment that people begin to think critically is usually the moment they start drifting away from it. We don't have to sit down and break down the logical side of every argument. We just have to teach these people how to think critically. And 9 times out of 10, they get away from it. Be kind, be patient, be graceful, but don't let bullshit go unchecked. Just make them think. Plant the seed. That's all you got to do. Because here's the thing about the stolen land thing. You say, well, stolen from who? Because that's the thing. There were anywhere between 500 to 600 Indian tribes in the United States prior to the formation of the U.S. government, right? Depending on how far you expand the borders out. 500 to 600 tribes. Who was this land stolen from? The Sioux, the Cheyenne, the Kiowa? Who did they steal it from? Did they have it all along, or did they take it from somebody else? The reality was this land was won in a war or through treaties. And yes, while those treaties may not have been beneficial to both sides, they were treaties nonetheless. Every piece of land on this earth has changed ownership due to either war or treaties at one point or another. That doesn't make it stolen, that makes it conquered. It was won. When the Chiefs and the Eagles play in the Super Bowl next Sunday, I know some people will blame the officials. I might be one of them. But whoever wins will not have stolen the trophy. They'll have won it. That's their trophy. They're the Super Bowl champs. It's the same way with land. The reality of the situation is the land I'm standing on right now probably changed ownership 100 times before the white man ever showed up in the United States. That's the facts. You want to know the difference, though? When those tribes took that land from each other, they didn't go into reservation. They didn't put the survivors under reservations. They were murdered. They were raped. They were enslaved. Or they were used as human sacrifices to whatever god the other tribe was worshiping. Now, I'm not excusing what the United States did during the Trail of Tears and after it. That was abhorrent. There is no excusing it. But this idea that everyone was sitting in a circle singing Kumbaya fucking Ya before the white man got here is bullshit. Was bullshit. If anything, civility was brought to the table. That's just the facts, man. Y'all can get as mad about that as you want to. Like I said, the land I'm standing on right now probably changed ownership 100 times before the white man ever got here. The difference is we just figured out how to hold it longer. This land ain't stolen. So yeah, I'm glad when people bring the Native Americans up when we talk about immigration. I'm glad I welcome the stolen land argument when illegal immigration comes into play, because I think the Native Americans are a perfect example. All the Native American tribes are a perfect example of what happens when a country doesn't secure its borders, when they don't vet who's coming in, and when they let people whose cultural values directly conflict with their own take over the population and outnumber them. As it turns out, they don't always tend to have your best interest at heart. So yes, I absolutely believe that we should learn from the mistakes the Native Americans made and secure our borders, vet the people that are coming in here, and make sure that their cultural values at least somewhat align with ours. And if they're not willing to adapt and assimilate, maybe we should tell them to go the hell home. Go back to where you came from if you don't like it here. Nothing's stopping you. Shit, we'll give you a ride back, man. If you're not willing to assimilate to our cultural values, get the hell out of here. And when I say cultural values, I'm not talking food and music and dance. By all means, have your holidays, have your food, have your music, whatever. But this bullshit like you're seeing over in Europe, like they want to bring here, where we're going to treat women like second-class citizens and all that crap, that's not going to fly here. No, absolutely not. No. We're not doing that. Go back to the place you came from where they do that shit if you like it so much. There's a reason you came here. It was to get away from it. That just annoys me. I went on a diatribe there. I got on my soapbox. It's just, I mean, yeah, obviously the U.S. government did some fucked up shit to the Native Americans. No one's going to deny that. No one's going to deny that. But just this idea that this land was stolen as if it hadn't been stolen 1,000 times before we ever got here is insane. It's time to stop perpetuating that lie. That's part of history. And you know what? I don't blame those tribes any more than I blame the U.S. government. It was war. That's how they did it. One side gets fucked over. One society gets fucked over by a bigger and more well-armed society. It is what it is. There ain't nothing you can do about it. That's been human nature since the beginning of time. It's fucked up. I hate it. But it is what it is, man. It is what it is. I mean, if you're Cheyenne, you're not going to sit there and blame the Sioux guy for it. Oh, this was my life. You don't see that. So get over it. You got nothing to do with current, present-day immigration policy. Like I said, instead of using it as an excuse to enforce the laws we have on the books, let's use it as a reason to enforce them. Let's take what happened to the Native Americans and use it as a case study for what not to do going forward. That's my 2 cents. It's pissing me off. What I'm trying to get at is plant the seed in people's heads. Plant the seed in people's heads, because these people that are sharing this overgeneralization bullshit posts about the immigration situation right now that don't know what the hell they're talking about, don't get aggressive with them. Don't get rude to them. Just ask them questions. Plant the seed. Make them think for themselves. That's how you get people out of the virus that is liberalism. That's the only way to treat it, is to encourage people to think for themselves. And you can't get upset when they don't reach the same conclusions you do. They're not always going to. That's fine. I don't want everyone to think the way I do. That would be a really boring world, and I wouldn't even have a reason to do a show. And then I'd have to find shit to do with my weekends, right? So no, I don't want everyone to see the world the way I do. I want people to yell at and chastise on this show. But at least make them start using their heads, because they're not doing it right now. Okay. Let's get out of here. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. Rant mode. Being at war tends to take it out of me. Speaking on the war front, we haven't heard anything more from our moles yet on our friend, so I'm sure I'll get an update on that soon. And we'll have some new stories about things that are being said about me, both in public and in private. Or maybe we just bullied her out and just got her to shut up. Who knows? Anyway, this has been our show. We will see you Saturday. Remember, my moles are keeping tabs on some of you. But we'll see you Saturday for the big show. Cheat on your tax. Saturday, February 8th. We have got the Anthony Rogers is going to be on Comedy and Chaos down at Beach House Bar and Grill, 9 p.m., $10 cash at the door, or on eTix. Saturday, February 8th, Anthony Rogers. He's been on the show a number of times. St. Louis-based comedian, over 1 million followers on Instagram. He has been all over the place. He just did a whole thing at the AVNs, the Adult Video Awards. Look, you know I'm not a fan of that industry, but to each their own. The fact he was able to get in there and do some interviews, I guess that's great for him. That's his thing. He's been on the Jesse Lee Peterson show. He's been all over the place, man. He's been in the Rampage movie series. Hilarious guy, Anthony Rogers, good friend of mine. Come check him out. Saturday, February 8th, Beach House Bar and Grill, 9 p.m. Doors at 8:30, show at 9. Tickets, $10 cash at the door or on eTix. We'll see you then. Cheat on your taxes, not your spouse, and stay based.